Hello, my name is Rachel Covington, and I'm one of the genetic counselors here at the West Cancer Center. Your oncologist has identified you as being eligible for a research study we are conducting to assess the impact of genetic counseling on a variety of factors. During this video, you will hear about the role genetics can play in ovarian, fallopian tube, and primary peritoneal cancers. You'll also hear about genetic testing and how the result of genetic testing may impact you and your family's care. At the end of this video, you will be referred to meet with a genetic counselor in person and will be offered genetic testing via a small blood sample. After that meeting, you will also be asked to complete 3 surveys about your experience. Please ask your oncologist any additional questions you may have. Your participation is strictly voluntary and you may opt out of this study. Cancers of the ovaries, fallopian tubes, and peritoneum, or lining of the abdomen, occur in about 1 to 2% of women. The majority of these cancers, about 75%, are known as sporadic, meaning they are not caused by hereditary or genetic conditions passed on through a family. Sporadic cancers may be caused by a variety of factors, including environmental factors. The other 25% of these cancers are known as hereditary or genetic. Individuals with hereditary cancer conditions are born with a change in their DNA that puts them at a higher chance to develop certain cancers. The next few slides will discuss genetics in more detail. Before we discuss specific genetic conditions that may contribute to gynecologic cancers, let's discuss genetics in general. Our body is made up of trillions of cells. For example, skin cells, eye cells, ovarian cells, and each one of these cells contain a chemical called DNA. DNA contains the instructions our body uses to grow and develop. DNA is packaged into structures called chromosomes that you see in the picture. Each piece of DNA has about 20,000 genes, and genes are specific pieces of DNA that have a job. Some of our genes are designed to protect us from cancer to a certain extent. The next picture will show you how genetics may influence our chance to develop cancer. To use an analogy, let's think of those chromosomes like encyclopedias containing the information our body needs to function. The genes are like pages in those encyclopedias that contain the description for certain aspects of our appearance and body function. For example, hair color and height. A mutation is like a misspelled or missing word that disrupts that sentence. Genes that contain mutations do not function properly. If a mutation occurs in a gene that protects a person from cancer, that person has an increased chance to develop cancer over the general population. Mutations are typically inherited from a person's mother or father. These individuals are born with mutations, and those cannot be changed by diet, environment, or other factors. Some individuals with a gene mutation may not have a strong family history of cancer. However, the chance that we may find a gene mutation may be higher if one or more of the following red flags are present in your personal or family history. Certain cancers diagnosed at younger ages, for example, breast and colon cancer diagnosed under 50, multiple family members with the same type of cancer, more rare cancers, for example, male breast cancer, and certain ethnicities such as Ashkenazi, European, Jewish ancestry. The BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes are 2 genes that all men and women have. Each of these genes contains 2 copies, one from our mother, one from our father. Men and women with a mutation in one of these genes have increased risk for certain cancers, primarily breast and ovarian cancer in women and prostate and breast cancer in men. Individuals with a BRCA1 or BRCA2 mutation have options to lower cancer risk through preventative surgeries, such as removal of the breast and ovaries, or to catch cancer early through increased breast screening beginning in the mid-20s for women. It is important to note that removal of the breast and ovaries does not completely eliminate the chance of developing these cancers. However, that chance is greatly reduced. Having a gene mutation does not guarantee that you will develop cancer or a second cancer. However, the chances are increased over the general population. Mutations in the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes are not the only gene mutations that can raise a woman's risk of developing ovarian, fallopian tube, or primary peritoneal cancer. In fact, there are several genes that have been identified to raise this risk. These genes may also increase the risk for other cancers. For example, another genetic condition called Lynch syndrome increases a person's chance to develop colon cancer and also increases a woman's chance to develop ovarian and uterine cancer. Individuals with Lynch syndrome are recommended to undergo colonoscopies every 1 to 2 years, beginning in their early 20s. Every person shares some portion of their genes with their family members, such as parents, siblings, and children. If a person carries a genetic mutation, other family members may carry it as well. In fact, any person, male or female, who carries a genetic mutation has a 50% chance of passing it down to each child, regardless of that child's gender. Imagine if you flipped a coin with every pregnancy. In addition, the full siblings of a person with a gene mutation also have a 50% chance to have it. Although both men and women can have gene mutations and pass them on, their risk to develop cancer may be different. The next several slides will discuss genetic testing. Genetic testing is typically performed on a small blood sample, and there are 3 possible results we may get for every gene that's tested. The first type of result is negative. This means that no mutations were found in a particular gene. You cannot pass on a gene mutation that you do not have. However, there may still be an increased risk of certain cancers in your family, depending on your personal and family history. It is recommended that individuals with a negative test result continue to have regular checkups and cancer screenings. The second type of result is known as a variant of uncertain significance, also called an inconclusive test result. This means that the lab identified a change in one or more genes. However, it is unknown if that change is harmful or harmless. It is not recommended that your medical management be changed based on an inconclusive result. The testing laboratory will study these inconclusive changes over time and may be able to reclassify them as positive or negative. You will be notified of any changes in classification. The third type of test result is positive. This means that the testing laboratory identified a mutation in a gene that is associated with an increased risk of certain cancers. If you receive this result, you will meet with a genetic counselor again in person to discuss the implications for you and your family members. The Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, also called GINA, passed in 2008 and protects individuals and their family members from being penalized by their health insurance or employers for having a hereditary cancer condition. This includes things like raising premiums or dropping policies. GINA does not protect against discrimination from life, long-term care, and disability insurances. However, any existing policies you have cannot be changed. The genetic testing offered as part of this research study does not cover every known genetic cancer condition. If you have a personal or family history of any of the following cancers or tumors, please let the genetic counselor know during your meeting so that the most appropriate test can be ordered. Medullary thyroid cancer, a tumor of the adrenal glands called a pheochromocytoma, a rare tumor known as a paraganglioma, a personal or family history of kidney cancer diagnosed under 50 years of age, if you or a family member has tested positive for a gene mutation. And please also let your doctor and genetic counselor know if you've ever had a bone marrow transplant, stem cell transplant, or a blood transfusion within the last month. This flowchart describes the genetic testing process as part of this research study. If you choose to undergo testing after meeting with a genetic counselor, Your blood sample will be sent to the testing lab and will be tested for mutations in 28 genes associated with different cancers. The genetic counselor will contact you by phone in 2 to 3 weeks to discuss your results. If a mutation is identified, you will meet again with the genetic counselor in person. If you receive a negative or uncertain test result, you will receive a summary letter and your results in the mail after you've spoken to the genetic counselor on the phone. Most women with ovarian, fallopian tube, or primary peritoneal cancer will have good insurance coverage for genetic testing. However, this may vary by insurance plan or other factors such as deductibles and coinsurance. The genetic testing is being performed by Myriad Genetics, who will call you if you have any out-of-pocket cost prior to beginning your test. If you are not comfortable with the out-of-pocket cost, you will have the opportunity to cancel the test at no charge. After you meet with a genetic counselor, you will take 3 short assessments and surveys about genetics and your experience with genetic testing. You will take the same 3 assessments again in 3 months. Please answer to the best of your ability. Your answers are for research purposes only. After this video is finished, please notify your oncologist if you have additional questions. As you heard earlier, your participation in this research study is strictly voluntary, and you may choose to opt out at this time. Your participation is greatly appreciated. Thank you.